Hey, what's going on, everyone? We have a pretty interesting filing that came out, and again, no more hate, no more hostility. Gonna get back into the learning, educating role here because that's what matters, right? It's easy to hate online, of course, especially when it doesn't go against your thoughts. I understand. So from here on out, we're gonna focus on educating. And if you're someone that likes the truth and you like learning about the markets, that's what I'm gonna be here to do. Is to help show you that you can do it. You have the power to learn this stuff. Go at your own pace. The tools and resources are out there. I'll show you how to find them, and I'll show you the documents that I feel are relevant and important. Now, this is one that we're going to look at today is from the Department of Homeland Security. This was released today and is scheduled to be published on the Federal Register's public inspection as of tomorrow. And what that means is that once it's on the public inspection and has been released, it is now in effect unless otherwise stated in the document itself. Now, again, this document can be found on the Federal Register's website. This is from the Code of Federal Regulations, and this is 8 Part 214, and the part is basically like a section of this section of the CFR. This is the final rule, and this is a period of admission and extensions of stay for representatives of foreign information media seeking to enter the United States. So I'm going to go over this briefly. I'll link the description below, or I'll link this in the description below if you'd like to take a look at it in more detail. It's about 18 pages long. But the summary of this is, it's basically, in a nutshell, what they're doing is the PRC, and the timing for this is interesting, to say the least. But basically in May, around May of 2020, right when SLR was just getting going, all of a sudden, U.S. was barred from going to China. China was barred from going to U.S., the media. Australia fled because they were getting threats and things. They even mentioned that in this document, I think. Yeah, U.S. and other foreign journalists reported a series of online threats and uncensored amplification of their personal details on PRC social media platforms, just like what happened to me on this platform for trying to cover this stuff. But yeah, I mean, they don't want this getting out, and this was during COVID that all of this was happening. But now, in late 2022, what they're doing is they're mending those fences, and they're now going to be allowing PRC entities from foreign media back into the country. They're taking away the indefinite amount of time rule that they had. They're getting rid of that, and they're putting in now where they can only have a stay for 90 days, maximum of 90 days. So I found that very interesting, and the timing is also very interesting. And they're going to be taking in non-immigrant visas under the I classification. And in order to qualify for this, a non-citizen must be a bona fide representative of foreign press, radio, film, or other foreign information media that has its home office in a foreign country and must seek to enter the United States solely to engage in such employment. So basically what they're doing is they're specifically taking in PRC media, radio, anything information media related. They're now all of a sudden bringing them back in, and vice versa for China. That is the basic thing. What you need to take away from this filing it wasn't the case always. This is literally the opposite end of where we were in 2020. So just consider the timing. Consider the U.S.-China narrative that's been floating around the media, and a lot of this stuff starting to add up, or it should. Especially if you've been following me for a while, you can just see that everything in this has been hand in hand. And this is the text where they say about getting rid of the stay, the permanent stay. It says here that while an interpretation of the regulation requiring admission for an indefinite period of the duration of status is reasonable, it is also reasonable for DHS to interpret the regulation to allow DHS, in its discretion, to admit I-visa holders for a set time period. In May 2020, DHS promulgated a final rule amending 8 CFR 214.2 to provide that the admission of I-visa holders presenting passports issued by the People's Republic of China, with the exception of Hong Kong and Macau, would no longer be for an indefinite period, but would be instead for a period not to exceed 90 days. That rule also provides that such I-visa holders are permitted to seek subsequent extensions of stay, each one limited to no more than 90 days. The rule was promulgated by DHS because DHS determined admitting I-visa holders from PRC for an indefinite period was not sufficiently reciprocal to the PRC's treatment of U.S. journalists at the time. that's basically it. I mean, I don't think there's anything else worth going over other than here's the text where it reads, in September 2020, the last two Australian reporters working for Australian media in the PRC left the country following an unprecedented diplomatic standoff with PRC security forces. PRC security forces had sought to impose a strict exit ban until the reporters answered questions about their ties to Cheng Li, an Australian reporter working for the PRC state media who was detained and held incommunicado since August 2020, which is when the 3 red lines came out. Likewise, in March 2021, a BBC journalist fled the PRC amid intense, sustained, and targeted threats from the Chinese authorities. The 2020 FCCC report further revealed that foreign journalists are receiving severely shortened visa admission periods and reporting credentials, one for just 2.5 months. Moreover, the 2020 FCCC report stated that foreign journalists applying for visa renewals face numerous challenges, with a record number of at least 12 correspondents receiving visas of 6 months or less. 1 out of 6 correspondents reported being forced to use a series of short visas of between 1 and 3 months in duration so that they could live and work in China. The typical duration of PRC issued credentials is 12 months. So during COVID, they've been shortening the amount of time that they want these foreign reporters in their countries. The U.S. has done the same thing on our side. Now they're laxing that. Because in November of 2021, the PRC committed to a series of discrete actions that signal progress. So you see how this all works? They create an engineer crisis. Everyone reacts to it. They profit off of this reaction. But then in reality, what they're really doing is they're profiting off of everything and they're mending it, mending fences, collaborating, conspiring, all underneath the table. But they're telling you at the same time in the documents that no one reads. That's the whole point. So here is your changes. They're going to be removing the set period of stay of 90 days for those non-citizens who present a passport issued by the PRC and replace it with a maximum period of stay as determined by the Secretary to not exceed 1 year. So they're going from 90-day maximum stay in the United States to a whole year. And the PRC is reciprocally doing the same thing for the U.S. COVID is drawing towards a close, and now all of a sudden, fences are being mended. Don't you think that's kind of strange? Don't you think it's kind of worth looking into? I sure as hell do. And the more you look into it, the more you'll confirm that there's a lot more going on than what's in the media. Anyways, that's basically it for this one. Mending fences, media with foreign media. China to PRC. PRC to US, US to PRC. Oh, and Spoons, you work in media. If you have heard anything about this from your local organization, please share. Or if you know anyone in your organization that's, trying to go to China to live and report, please share. That'd be interesting to know. I always love your insights, man. So anyways, y'all have a good one. We're going to have information media seeking entering the United States from the PRC and vice versa.